What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Conversations with Patrick. I have got such a great one today. When I got an email from this individual's assistant, I'm assuming her name was Courtney, all she had to use was the words Gordon Ramsay of addiction recovery. And I'm like, I'm a kitchen nightmares fanatic. I got to find out how he even got that nickname. I'll put him on the show just for that. We have today Dr. Robb Kelly. How you doing today, Doctor?
Patrick, doing amazing, absolutely. Gordon's actually a friend of mine, so I'm going to have to hook you two up, I think.
Oh, please. Oh, my goodness. If you would, I would be. I don't know if I'll be able to talk, to be honest with you. But I know, obviously, for those listening, Dr. Kelly is not originally from the United States, if you didn't pick that up on. You're from Manchester, correct?
Correct, from Manchester, England, and I've been in Texas, America, for about 18 years now, 14 in Dallas and 4 in San Antonio is where I am today.
Awesome. Okay. Well, being from Manchester, there are two questions I have to get out of the way right now, so we can see where we land on these. Okay. United or City?
So I've got to lead you into a quick story.
Okay.
Manchester City was my dad's favorite team, so every home match, we would be there, and I went there about 6, 7 years with my dad. However, I was Manchester United's doctor for 3 years. So then I would count in the Beckham days, the Roy Keane days and stuff like that. So I kind of became a red to my dad's disgust, and he said he wants to speak to me for about an hour. So both.
Both. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm a soccer fanatic. Football is really what it's called, but I'm a soccer fanatic, and I watched United back in like the Edward Van der Sar days and stuff like that. So yeah. Then the more important one, because I know you are a musician, your background is in music as well, and coming from Manchester, I have to ask this: Oasis, Blur, or the Stone Roses?
I'll take the Stones only because I know all of that guys because it's kind of in my era, but. Liam's an idiot, so Noel's good. Noel's very talented, but Ian Brown, man, he's just he's
okay.
He's this guy. He's only about 3'2".
Yeah, and I'm an Oasis fan. I agree with you, though. I fall on the Noel side much more than Liam's side, like High Flying Birds and stuff. Such good solo stuff compared to BDI and things like that. So, okay, that's enough of the fun stuff for now. But let us talk about why you're here.
By the way, Patrick, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you know so much about Oasis and the Stone Roses.
Oh, thank you. I'm a music fanatic. My background is actually I was a wedding DJ. I know that doesn't fall into Oasis category, but I've seen Oasis. I have gravitated towards because anyone who asks me, well, what's only one artist you listen to the rest of your life? There's only one correct answer to that, and that is the Beatles. And then so Oasis, just I grew up in that era as they were coming up, and I kind of gravitated toward them as being a Beatles fan as well. So, what? Tell everyone your story because you are an addiction recovery coach or specialist, but people don't just fall into that. Most of the times, when someone gets into that, there's a backstory behind it. So, what is that backstory?
I was born into an alcoholic family. Alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. I'll piss a few people off. So I took my first drink at the age of 9, stayed with my musical family, and it kind of took off from there for me. So I went to high school, did all that great stuff, drinking weekend with the band, got my own band going, and became a session musician, and the alcohol and the alcohol and the alcohol. So I got married, had 2 children, young babies, and eventually it all went wrong. You know, I remember stabbing my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish a bottle of vodka and leaving the 2 little babies in cinema while I drove 15 miles to the nearest liquor store. It's just horrendous. So when I did lose everything, I was homeless for 14 months, died twice on the streets. I said to myself, I'm going to spend the rest of my life finding out what alcoholism and addiction is. And what we discovered with our findings is we cover addiction, we cover alcoholism, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, and we're just doing some early research on patients, onset dementia and Alzheimer's is what we're going in. So we cover anything psych today. So Yeah, it's been a crazy journey from where I grew up on the projects, as you guys would say, council estates if you're in England, and then homeless, and then to here is just crazy story, you know. But here I am, one of the sought after doctors pertaining to mental health, and just loving every minute of it right now, you know. It's great.
Now you have a based on what I've read, you've been doing this for about 30 years, 8,000 ish people. Is that correct?
10,000. We're about 10,000 patients in
Okay. And you're running around a 97% success rate. Is that a correct number?
correct. It's about 98, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
we take this journey very, very seriously. And the reason why I've got such a high success rate is the neuroscience behind it. That, you know, when we find out we're neuroscience experts, psychology, brain spotting, all the tools we use. You have to pass an assessment for us to take you on. Which meaning if you're not ready, we won't take you on. So
Okay.
I've so many people, you know, singers, pop stars for $1 million, wasn't ready. We didn't take him. So yeah, we're very, very aggressive, stroke kind, stroke loving, stroke aggressive. So
Okay.
if you're not willing, you know, I don't know whether you can curse on here, but if you're not willing to do as you're told, then I will fire you and I will kick you out of my office and you'll never be taken back in again. So we're pretty aggressive when it comes to getting people well because my family, Patrick, was torn apart. I mean, talk about brothers, sisters, mom, dad, two children, my ex-wife, they were torn apart with my disease. And it really upset me that nobody could tell me what to do because I was lost, you know. So when I was on the streets, I was abandoned, man. And that feeling, that helpless and nobody could help you really annoyed me. So that's my life's mission right now.
Okay. And is it just alcohol you deal with, or are you looking at other addictions like drugs, alcohol? Because I know in the United States in particularly, and I just want to get this out of the way right now for the viewers who might not know about me. I'm a Christian. So I do approach things a little bit from the biblical standpoint as well. But I know the big three in church, let's put it that way, are of course drugs, alcohol, and then some type of sexual slash porn addiction are the big three. Do you deal with just alcohol, or are you looking at a wide breadth of addictions as well?
We deal with every kind of addiction, and everybody has an addiction. Every kind of addiction you could imagine, and then the onset from that is the PTSD, the depression, you know, the clinical depression and stuff like that. Because we found our treatment works through all of those things because it's about what the brain and minds do, conscious and subconscious. And now we can manipulate the patterns in our head and change, because that's what we do. We change patterns and redirect neural pathways in the head so they become a working part of the brain.
Okay. And I remember so watching one of your videos and in prep for this, you talked about you realized when you had hit what the term that I use is because I work in the rescue mission field. So I deal with addictions a lot. I like, 90% of the people that I deal with are dealing with some kind of addiction as well. And I remember hearing the story you told about when you really hit rock bottom, as we put it, of walking into a liquor store that was just opening and putting a hand on the bottle, and that's when you realize the calm. It wasn't necessarily drinking it was just having it there. It kind of clue in people what I'm talking about there.
So I think I was homeless. I don't know. I'm outside a liquor store at 5:30,
Mm-hmm.
snowing. I have a vest, pair of shorts, and flip flops on, and I'm sweating profusely. Those guys that do know what this is about, I'm going into a dilemma and traps, which basically means alcohol needs to get in my system within 30 minutes, or I need to get to hospital. Pakistani man, not supposed to sell alcohol till 10 a.m. in the UK. He used to open the little door, let me in, because he knew I needed it. I don't know why, and I still don't know why today, but for what reason I'm stood outside, he comes in, he's like, come on, bro. Locks the door behind me. I got my £10 as usual. I put it on the counter as usual. He puts the bottle of vodka, the one with the handle one, bottle of vodka on the side, and this was my reaction this morning. Look, headache went, sweats went, mood change, shaking stop. I remember looking at the shopkeeper and looking back at the bottle. Back at the shopkeeper, because it's like everything just stood in time. and back to the bottle. I went, holy shit, it's not the alcohol. And that was my biggest RR to be the leading authority now in addiction is it's not alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. And the same with porn, food, sex, drugs. It's the 1%. It's not. It's not. I never had a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem. So when I say alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made, people are confused with that. They both show up the same. They both, ruin people's lives. But alcoholics is a predisposition that's passed down from generation to generation. So we're allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. And 3 parts of the brain differ. The hypothalamus, that's the baby that tells us to drink, survival part of the brain. And 2 other parts we can get into later. With drug addiction, it's the addictive personality. So 90% of people that come to our practice started in the doctor's office that are drug addicts. So that's what we found. We've done everything I say today, guys. Some of it you go, wow, that can't be true. Trial, tested, research, trialed again, scientific research. We've done everything to back this up. So everything I say has been tried and tested. So it's not just some guy talking, bullshit. We take this very seriously. So yeah, it's just amazing when you find out the mind and the brain. It's the most powerful thing in the world.
And you say something I've heard you say a lot, that alcohol is a symptom to the disease. It's not the disease itself. Well, explain that a little bit.
Well, it's like anything. It's the internal dialogue in the brain, subconscious brain, conscious brain that sets off. That's the addiction. The substance can be anything. Now, with alcoholics, because we're born this way, you can trace it back 3 generations. You can't trace drug addiction back 3 generations necessarily. So it's all about finding exactly what's going on. What is going on? And then when you find out, it's absolutely crazy. The truth for me was out there, and I was never going to rest till I found it. And when we did find it, it was mind blowing for us, Patrick. It was just, we wanted to tell the world, but we knew that mixing in the areas we didn't, we had to be the addiction industry's secret. So yeah, it's just amazing.
And some of those things that you found, and you mentioned them already earlier, are you kind of wrap in childhood trauma and family dysfunction, and with it being hereditary is what it sounds like you're saying. How do those components, or I guess not how do they, because I think everyone knows how they kind of play into it, but what is there a higher probability that someone will become an alcoholic if those components are there in their background?
100%.
Okay.
100%. The family systems, childhood trauma is the gateway drug. That's it. So we've got to look at family systems. So that was very interesting that you said that, because we found out that, normal treatment center, which I've been in loads, they'd get the family. So mom and my sister, my dad would come down once a month and they'd tell everybody in the room how bad I was and what damage that caused. And that didn't do any harm. So what we found out is first of all, you've got to recover in your own home. Okay. You've got to recover in your own home. That's why we do telehealth 95%. But what we found is by taking the spouse on and anybody over the age of 18 on, they have to do 2 days a week. So patient 7, family 2. So wives often come along and go, well, it's not my disease. It's not he needs to change. And then we go, well, Mrs. Smith, can you explain your trauma? I haven't got any trauma. Well, can you explain why you let your husband come home 2 or 3 times a week and beat you in front of the children? It has to be a family recovery. So when we started doing this and really, adding up the numbers, the statement comes to this fact that when the family are involved in the proper way, so he sorts his trauma out, she has to sort her trauma out. You swim to your own life raft and we pull you in together. But when we do this systems, the recovery rate of the alcoholic goes up by 42% alone.
Wow.
So, yeah, but we can't bash the drug addict. Let's just say alcoholic guys, but drugs and everything else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can't bash the alcoholic into giving up. And that's down to what we found with the hypothalamus, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's this has got to be supportive and not enabling, but supportive. And my dad threw me out, and saved my life. So there are measures we tell families, if the patient did this, then what you do is you change all the locks, and when he comes in the house, you call the police. And this is the only way to do it. Otherwise, someone's going to end up dead in the house.
So, one thing that I want to go back to that you said, and you even joked about a little bit about it, said that's going to get me into trouble, or a lot of people are going to be upset about that. You talk about alcohol in particular, because you even distinguish between alcohol and the drug use as being genetic. Is there any confirmed gene data in the DNA that kind of goes to that? Or you know what I mean? Because you hear a lot of people say, well, it's just genetics or whatnot. Is there any type of research to back that up?
Of course there is, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we've got a lot of it, but there is the World Health Organizer, found out about 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is epigenetics tells us so. And the more we study the hypothalamus, that tells us so, and the basal ganglia, that tells us so. So there's a gene. Nobody's found yet. It's kind of the alcoholic addiction gene. But yeah, 100%. Like you can, if you come from a line of alcoholics, you can trace this easier. Traits, surroundings for drug addicts. Take the first drink as an alcoholic and you're done. You're done, because what happens is when I take alcohol inside my body, my reaction is different to the guy next door to me. So what happens is the prefrontal cortex that makes all the decisions. So the prefrontal cortex, one of its main jobs is to not scream at the brain, but ask the brain, ASAP, give me a solution. Give me a solution to my problem. Give me a solution. Give me something. So what happens with the alcohol is a couple of things. First of all, it goes straight into the subconscious brain, okay, hypothalamus, and the prefrontal cortex does a great job as it does it in seconds. The only problem is that it has to be the right answer. So what happens, let me tell you about the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is our survival instinct, our temperature, how to stay alive, how to survive. It tells babies from birth they've got to drink water, eat food. It's why you've got the hands down the mouth or the crying with the belly. It's just a natural occurrence. It's the almost prehistoric survival instinct of the brain. What happens to the alcoholic after 10, 20, 30, 40 years or whatever? The hypothalamus turns around and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. So that's why I could go days or weeks without food or water. And then the brain's telling me if I don't drink alcohol, I'm going to die, even though it's the opposite. That's the biggest finding pertaining to alcohol and drugs is that. And then we look at the childhood trauma, and we look at the basal ganglia, which with most alcoholics that are born, that there is alcoholism in the family. What happens with the basal ganglia? So the basal ganglia is our repetition, strength, and confirms part of the brain. Pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air before he can fly without really thinking about it. Same when we drive a car the first time, or after about 2 or 3 months, listen to a radio call, I'm on way to the girlfriend, or at the same time. So what happens with alcoholics and drug addicts, but alcoholics especially, is the basal ganglia through childhood trauma and with addicts is broken. It has a default setting because of the childhood trauma. So alcoholics and addicts are more sensitive to trauma. It don't have to be a big thing. It can be somebody says. So you can imagine a clock face, 12 o'clock we relapse, 10 after we come off a bender, 20 after the wife come back, half past the kids come back, 22 we get that job offer, and at 10 we do it all over again, pull everything down apart. Because the 10 to the hour tells us to self-sabotage, purely going back to childhood trauma, that I'll never be good enough. So whether it's a caregiver, a parent, or someone has said something to you, or several things to you that sit in the subconscious brain, and it's tied to the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, sorry. So when you get to the towards the 10 to, everything self-sabotages. Everything goes down the drain because we don't think we are good enough.
Okay. And I'm going to ask this question, and it's not a gotcha question. I just want to see where you stand on it, okay? So I'm not trying to put you in a corner or anything like that, all right? Do you believe it is a choice that they're making, or they're uncontrollable in being able to do it?
The hypothalamus comes in with the alcoholic, that choice has been taken away. That's where God needs to come in. So God and science work really hand in hand here. Drug addicts to a certain point of choices. Choices from bad decisions, childhood trauma, and being introduced to it. That's what we find. So choices alcoholic, nope. Choice drug addiction, yeah. Both to a certain point. Like I say, they both show up the same. But there's a couple of things you need to add into getting well, and one of those is spiritual aspects. And I'll tell you why. So the mind is energy, guys. You can't feel it, touch it, and it sits inside the brain. Hence the saying, mind over matter, which is brain. We can program this guy to run the brain. Would it be amazing? Well, we can. We 100% we can. But here's the interesting part. Once my mind, which is energy, connects to another energy, it can't be a tree or a rig, to another power energy, okay, because we're all around energy, and my thought patterns and neural pathways change from self-sabotage to good, healthy neural pathways, then my DNA changes. Why is that important? I am the same person I was before. That's the only way you're going to recover from alcoholism and addiction is 300 neural pathways die every single day, guys. What are you replacing them with? Yesterday, trauma, fear. You're just going round and round, man, and you always relapse, and you never make any of yourself, and all your relationships will fail, and your business ideas will fail because we've not got it right. So then things need to happen. I have never seen a real alcoholic atheist alive. I've never met one. I just haven't, And I was the biggest. I got molested by my priest. My children were gone. It's like, I don't mention God to me, but I had a huge spiritual awakening on the streets where I met this guy we can never trace. And it's 90% of what I do today. So
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's 13 of my God's guys. Just pick one is what my guy used to say to me. It's like, what? Just pick one. Who are you? Just pick one. Oh, okay, I'll just pick one then. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm glad to hear you say that because I've already made it clear where I stand on that. I think it is a choice. I fall very much into the Romans 12:1. And I heard you say this in another interview, not Romans 12:1, but that the DNA thing, and the guy kind of pushed you on it, and I understood where you were coming from because in order to make any change, you have to change your mind. You have to transform your mind for any change in your life to occur. And I think, you and I definitely agree on that aspect of it, is that this is where it starts. Would you agree with that?
Well, it starts and where it ends.
Okay.
The brain itself, obviously very complicated, subconscious, conscious mind. That's where, the subconscious mind wakes us every morning because we're in a hypoxic state. The subconscious mind thrives in hypoxic states. I don't know, bring up where there's no oxygen. So lack of oxygen equals the presence of oxygen equals lack of disease. So if the subconscious brain wakes us up, that guy's going to do everything, drink everything, use everything, sleep with everything. We've got to get rid of that guy first thing in the morning. It's the way around it. So.
Awesome. Okay. And you said something else that I had to. I took a moment to take in before I put it in the notes to ask you about, because I'm like, I'm not sure what this is. I remember you saying you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. What were you speaking of there?
That's when the alcoholics are born, not made, because you can't drink yourself into become an alcoholic, but you can take enough drugs to become a drug addict, right? So it's nothing to do with the alcohol. It's 1% to do with the ethanol in the alcohol, but the rest is all the parts of the brain talks about. So when you take that first drink, all bets are off.
Okay.
All bets are off, and that was the interesting thing that people think. Alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. 10 DWIs does not make you an alcoholic. I know people that drink more than me and more often than me than alcohol. When they drink alcohol, it's a relaxing thing for them. When I drink alcohol, again, I don't know when I'm going to stop. So if I took a drink, I work with, he's a great friend of mine. He also says I can tell people, Robert Downey Jr., and he always jokes Uh, if I can't drink today, I've got plans for Christmas, because that's me. And that's when you find out what the real alcoholic is. We don't have 6 or 7 drinks, 18, 10, 50, 100, go to bed, get up next morning and act normally. We can't do that. The hypothalamus is screaming at us, you need more alcohol. So when I used to go on blackouts, they'd be for months, not hours or days.
One of my, I'm going somewhere with what I'm about to say here, because I don't think I've lost my mind going down here. One of my favorite shows is The West Wing, and I remember a scene in it where there's a person that's about to get fired from the White House for leaking something, and they brought into the great John Spencer's office, and she's talking about her dad being an alcoholic, and of course John Spencer's character was an alcoholic, and she says, "I don't understand why you can't just have one drink." And his response always stuck with me. He's like, "Because I know that I can't stop with just one." And that's kind of what you're saying. Someone who is a heavy drinker stops. An alcoholic doesn't stop. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we go through, I don't identify as alcoholic today, but
Mm-hmm.
I've recovered from that. But we go through stages where we try and drink casually to start with, and it turns into heavy drinking. And there's research out there that says at that point we could probably stop in the right circumstances. But once it crosses over to alcoholism, and we don't know when that is, we can't decide that. Research has not told us that yet. And again, you literally cannot stop. I mean, you can't. If I went into a bar, let's say, and I was drinking, and I had no money, and I walked into the bar, and this bunch of guys came over and said, "Here's half a pint of whiskey, free of charge. But if you drink that, you've got to use the gun on yourself." I'm taking that all day long, because I'm not thinking about the gun. I'm thinking about the alcohol. That's why when we're drinking, we're thinking where the next one's coming from. I would say, and 99.9% of our real alcoholics would take that either. We go on, drink as fast as we can, job done, and then bang, makes no difference. I'll take it all day.
Okay. Another question I have for you, once again, all of these are coming from interviews I watch with you and pulling quotes and stuff. Why do you believe teaching relapse prevention doesn't work?
It works with drug addicts. It works with heavy drinkers. It's like a drug now that you can take that, remove the urge to drink. Bullshit. Well, not with alcohol. It's a waste of time. When that kind of click goes off, nothing can stop you. Like nothing could ever stop you. And that's what we've got to start believing, that alcoholism is not what we think it is. Drug addiction is not what we think it is. Childhood trauma is not what we think it is. Alzheimer's, all that stuff. It's not what we think it is. Johnny around the corner, he drinks every day, he's an alcoholic. That's not necessarily true. Unless we can trace it back 3 generations, that's probably not true. And again, you've got to self-diagnose. It's like when you put it in your system, why do you act differently? That was the missing puzzle for every physician around the world. Physicians and medical fraternities still baffled. I teach them. I do conferences with them, teaching them what this is about and the findings that we have. It's like, as long as you can't fix anything you don't understand. So every person going through addiction needs a full knowledge of what they're going through. So if we're going, well, if you drink 10 pints of whatever, you must be, no, it's not true. It's way different than that. The parts of my brain react to alcohol going into my body, and then it's you have no control. No control.
Okay, and that makes sense. Just to pause here for a second to let you know, I have a little background in training. I should have probably started with this. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called the Genesis process. It was developed by someone who he's passed away now, Michael Dye, who used to run the rescue mission in San Diego, California, and it's a recovery coach training type process for rescue mission work. So it's a God-based, biblical-based thing, and this is one of the things we teach as well, is that it's your alcoholism or addiction in general is replacing something else in your life. and you have to figure out how to fill that hole that it's replacing. Do you buy into that or agree with that, or do you have a different philosophy on that?
Again, heavy drinkers and people that use alcohol and drug addicts, 100%.
Okay.
100%. So that's when the God thing comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to, there's something missing. The reason why drug addicts go crazy is childhood trauma, and there's something missing in their life. Like somebody will say this as a child and we act like this as an adult. Now, can you put the both together? Hell no, you cannot. Because what happens, especially in my era, it's a little bit different today. When childhood trauma happened or sexual abuse happened, it did with me on several occasions, the people back then normalized it. I mean, when my priest molested me, I went home, my mum hit me so hard. I got no supper that night. I was sent straight to bed. How dare you come in here and accuse the priest? And that's just the way it is. So when I was having trouble with my relations, my intimacy with people as a whole, it went straight back to a couple of events. But when my mum and dad used to drop us off at their friends on a Friday night so they could go out drinking, and they'd pick us up Saturday lunch. As soon as my parents' car pulled up the driveway, we were meant to play, because there was a couple of kids there, meant to play the run around naked game. Thought it was normal where we got undressed and the adults chased around. What we thought was tickling us, I thought it was normal. Many years later, when I found out that was sexual abuse, I used to do bodybuilding back in my early days, like most guys, boxing, bodybuilding. I would never take my shirt off. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years of age, never. I would go on and win a competition, go and put my top back on again. I would never take it off at a swimming pool or anything like that. And when we found out with my guy, it was one of the direct correlations to that being made to do that. Because when you do that, this happens. And this is how it affects me today. Well, without knowing how to put them two together, you would go through your life not succeeding, ruin relationships, and you would have no idea why. What happens to many people, if there's a child, let's say a girl growing up in an alcoholic, violent house where dad comes home 2 or 3 days a week and physically gets into a fight with mom, she learns a couple of things. First of all, she listens to the door as the key goes in the door. Does it stumble? Danger. Does it go straight in? It's going to be a happy night. But when she leaves the house, she will attract the same guy, ends up being an addict or alcoholic, and ends up in violence with her. To the extent that she finds a nice guy, she will self-sabotage that relationship till it doesn't work, because it doesn't feel normal.
Wow. That's sobering, just the thought, and not sobering in terms of being sober, the sobering in terms of just that's a heavy thought. And I believe you, because you've done the research on it. You've seen it, and it's that's a completely it's disheartening, especially in the world that we live in today, because we live in what I call a microwave society, where everything wants something done in a minute, where that behavior you're describing is very easy, because of the world that we live in today, to bounce from one relationship to another and make those excuses. And so often, if you're in a dating situation, the other person that it's happening to will go, well, this person's just nuts or whatnot, without actually realizing that it goes all the way back to that.
It's a shocker. It really is, guys. Mm-hmm. But people with childhood trauma, and everybody has childhood trauma, remember, just the alcoholic addicts are more sensitive to it. It goes back to the comfort zone. If I can sit in this comfort zone and don't want to change, I don't like change, then we can change this one. There was a girl in England went missing 68, 69, I think it was. Schoolgirl, full uniform, blonde hair, blue eyes. She was snatched at the side of the road. Well, Manchester was in uproar. Every police officer was called in. Can't find her. So they presumed dead. 9 months later, a police car is following another car down a country road, and he has a broken back light. So he pulls them over. Now, back in the day, they didn't have any PNCs or anything, police national computer. So they would say to the driver, if they pulled him over, what's in the trunk, what's in the boot? Yellow jacket, pair of boots. Open it, yellow jacket, it's his car, it's fine. This guy was nervous and stuff, so they had a look in his trunk, and what they found was a stolen screwdriver. And it had the price tag on, because back in the day, you used to set the price tag on when you ran it through. So now they're allowed to go back to the house and see what else is stolen. And sure enough, there's lawnmower. How to get a lawnmower? There's lawnmowers, there's ladders, there's drills, there's everything from this hardware store. It's stolen over the years. But during the search, one of the officers found a box in the corner, 4 foot high by about 12 foot wide. Called the sergeant come in with the guy, and he said, "We know you've got more stolen stuff in there." And so they smashed the lock up. They opened, and there was the girl that went missing 9 months ago. She was alive, but she was bruised and battered. He used to take her out every day, abuse her, bath, food, restaurant, back in it. 9 months. So when the police woman leant over and she took this girl's hand, she helped her step out this box. She took a police coat off and she put it around the young little girl. What's the first thing the girl did?
Push the coat off.
She got back in the box.
Oh, got back in the box. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do in life, you know, our comfort zone, no matter how painful it is. We stay in relationships way too long. We stay in jobs way too long. We stay all these things way too long. And it ends up in a heartache, and you put yourself in a position to be hurt, but it's a comfort zone. So you'll stay there being hurt rather than take a chance into the unknown. And again, that's where God comes in, because God leads you into, if I'm stood stagnant, not doing anything, God can't work with me. It's a bit like a power steer on the car. When the engine's off, you can't even turn the wheel. Turn it on, the wheel become, and now when you move forward, then God directs you to where he wants you to be. I mean, that's the layman term of what I've found over the last, for 63 years I've been on this earth, is there is a God. Start to believe it. If you're an atheist, God bless you. There's a pun there. But start to believe in something that's powerful within you. Move forward. Try stuff. You'll succeed. Time and time and time again, if you get help like us, the right people. There's a lot of charlatans out there. But if you get the right help, your life will become absolutely unbelievable.
Great. Want to change gears a little bit. I don't know if you have this program in San Antonio or if you had it in what was the other city you were in, Texas?
Dallas.
Dallas. Okay, Dallas. But I know in my area, it's really starting to come up. I'm in West Virginia. I'm in a very tiny town. You can see out the back window. This is like the main street of my town. In about an hour and a half outside of Washington, D.C. And they're starting to creep in these, however you want to phrase it, harm reduction, needle exchange, or however you want to phrase it. What is your position on that? Do you think they're helpful? Or are they beneficial? Or are you kind of lean on the side of being against them?
So I did a show on the doctors. I did several, but one of them, and the doctors goes out to 18 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So question was asked, and then my take on it, what little I knew back then, is I've got to be sensible, first of all. But if you're having, you know, let's say inside of a hospital or a doctor's office, if you're having safe rooms where you can do that, it can only benefit. It's not going to make anybody use more. It's not going to create drug addicts. What it's going to do is create a safe place rather than the streets where your children see needles all over the place. God forbid they touch one and there is a disease to be caught. I think it's a good idea. I really do. But we've got to be sensible about it. You know, we know addicts need needles. If you don't want to share needles, there's millions that need it every single day. So I think if we're clever, I think it's a great thing. I'd like to see it right across America, to be honest. Okay.
Does San Antonio have that type of a program around where you are? Or
they do here. There's several places, and there's more places in Dallas. But yeah, it was hard. I've never been involved with it, but I could see it was a hard struggle for them guys to get it over. It's like, well, you're enabling. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. If you're a drug addict that needs a drug, you're not going to, you know, it's just not enabling. But, you know, you've got to understand how drug addiction works. It's not enabling at all. It's a safe decision and a safe environment.
Okay. And same thing, because I'm kind of hitting on some topics that I deal with, just so I can hear your opinion and knowledgeable take on them. Because one of the things that I deal with a lot in where I am is this little thing called Soboxone. Okay, which we basically call legalized heroin is how we phrase it. What is your opinion on that usage of that?
The brain doesn't know the difference between street drugs and pharmaceutical drugs. Let's just get that out there straight away.
Okay.
I like Suboxone as a tape. Now, what is a tape? As some people think, yes, it's a 4 to 5 week period where you will go on Suboxone and reduce off. If you're on Suboxone a year after, stop it. I don't care what anybody tells you. You're a drug addict. You're still taking it. You will die. Okay, you've got to understand this. Don't get into them. Oh, it's to the doctor. No, the doctor. The third leading cause of death in the United States of America is the medical fraternity. No, I'm sorry, but no. You should be clean. You should be sober. You should be moving forward. Now, if you want to stay on Suboxone the rest of your life, I've got no problem. I don't give a shit, to be honest with you. I tell patients all the time, whether you want to get well or not, I don't give a shit. I don't care how big your parents' checkbook is. I don't work like that. But if you really want to get clean and sober, find your identity in the real you and what you were meant to put on this earth, then use it as a tape. That's all. Get off it as quick as you can. It's harder to come off. Our trials around this drug, harder to come off than hell.
Wow.
You know, it really is. And I hear horror story after horror story after horror story of people stuck on this Suboxone. And the reason why they're stuck on it is because the doctor won't bring them off it. And the reason why the doctor won't bring them off it is because they're getting paid up for pharmaceutical companies to push this stuff.
Right.
There was a time in Dallas, there was a time in Texas where you could not cash a prescription for Adderall. Hundreds of trillions and trillions of dollars being made profit. It was so bad you couldn't get it. You're waiting weeks and weeks.
Yep.
Same with Suboxone. It's not being sold for the reason you think it's being sold. It's like all the other drugs that have come out, you know, all the other fentanyl. Let me ask everyone this thing. Why fentanyl? Why did we come out with that? Oh, it's for cancer patients. In my day, okay, for open heart surgeries, for every painful thing you would go, morphine was good. It's good enough for my parents, good enough for my mom when she had cancer. Why fentanyl? Financial reasons only, guys. That's all. Why did Purdue hire all these beautiful ladies and guys that push these drugs, go around to old doctors, flirting with them and stuff like that, if it wasn't for pure profit? Now, I went on live TV and news program. You can search this on the internet, guys. I had the Purdue top legal guy there and one of the sales managers there. And they told them categorically on this live program, do not do it. You don't know. Go research Dr. Rubin. Cannot do. They did it. I give them both barrels and they filed for bankruptcy the very next day. It's like, we're not messing with these guys, you know? The pharmaceutical companies run the world, especially run America, period. So what happens in this world, nobody's figured it out yet, is we don't eat real food, 90% GMO, rancid oils, sunflower oils, all seed oils, terrible food we're eating. So the food industry gets us sick, then the pharmaceutical companies have got us, and we're stuck in line. Let's say I get depression, okay? I say to my parents or mom or wife, I got depression, I feel terrible. It's the first thing she said, go and see the doctor. So I go and see the doctor, okay? So first of all, I'm seeing the doctor, and while I'm telling him I'm depressed, he's literally writing on his prescription. If you're going to see a doctor about anything or depression, let's say depression, he doesn't ask about your eating, your diet, your family situation, your work environment. He's just a high-paid drug dealer. So what he does is he writes a prescription for you that will make you happier and less depressed. So we take it and we go home. Here's what's really happening. I'm taking a false serotonin that the doctor's given me. My own serotonin is low. I'm now stuck on that, and my own serotonin, because that will deplete and become nothing. So we're stuck on that. The medical dictionary, United States, defines depression with a lack of serotonin. So why we're not asking why my serotonin is low in the first place? But we don't. Why? Because we've seen this commercial on TV. It's on a boat. These young women in bikinis, you know, they figure, I take this, so I feel, and you're thinking subconsciously, you'll have a life like that, so I've got to go and do it. And it's a merry-go-round. The food industry needs to stop. JFK will sort that out, the new health minister. We're kind of talking to him about this 9D thing that we're working with right now, subliminal messaging software. We need to realize how many people the pharmaceutical people are killing. How many people? And then they don't even talk about the insurance company, because they get involved as well. And so between them, we're fucked. Sorry, Patrick.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Trust me. I've had musicians on this show. You know how they talk. So it's
It's just disgusting, it is. And everyone's throwing a blind eye to it. Nobody's doing anything about it. And I've been fighting this for the 18 years I've been in America. When I first come over and started talking about and teaching what we found, they stripped me of my psychology license. Within a year, they stripped me, they've won it, they take it off me. It took us 9 months, 10 months to get it back again. And now I lecture and teach to them guys, which is a freaking joke. It's like nobody wants to upset the guys that are running the world right now. And them guys we just talked about, there's nothing anybody can do about it right now. Anyway.
well, I can tell you right now. I mean, I know you don't know my history, but I suffered for depression for 30 some years, 2 suicide attempts, everything. And when I finally went to a doctor, which was in jail, but still, I finally got to see a doctor. Literally the first thing they did, we're going to put you on Prozac. That was literally the first thing they did. And even when I got out, that they did that. Now it's been about probably 6-7 years since I did it, because I'm like, look, I know what I'm doing myself now, which is exactly what you're talking about. But there was no discussion of diet, exercise, anything. It was just like, here's a pill. That's what it was. So
Yeah, I mean, look at what we need every day to be happy. Talk about chemically, psychologically, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Everyone knows that. Everyone agrees with it. But what people don't know is the most powerful happy chemical of them 4 is dopamine and serotonin. They are created in the stomach, in the gut. So if you're eating shit all day, guess what? You're never going to produce that chemical enough to take you to a happier place. We have software and a program here. It's amazing. But when they take their headphones off, first they refer to them, what the hell is that? And I go, right, I feel fantastic, Dr. Robb. I feel absolutely amazing, Dr. Robb. And I say to each and every one of them, no, you don't. You feel normal. Because this is how we're supposed to feel. I'm 10 out of 10 every day on the happiness scale. I get up and kill it every single day. I don't have bad days. Now, sometimes I have better days than others. My father died, but nobody knew that until 6 months after. It's not my business to come to this place and work and, when I talk and make people miserable or worried. I'm here to pep talk everybody with the science, facts behind it and experience behind it, that you can live a life that you've never thought of living, that you can do anything and be anybody you want to be. And literally, once you find out the science behind this, you are going to kick yourself, guys. You're going to kick yourself because we don't, I'm not worthy. You've lost your identity, man. That's what it is. And you've no idea how powerful you are.
And I want to dovetail that in, because it's a great segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about. I remember seeing an interview with you where someone was asking or talking to you about the difference between healthy excellence and unhealthy excellence. What is that?
Well, unhealthy excellence is people like this. So the boss says to Johnny on Monday, hey, listen, I want that report. I'm my best by Friday. That's it. Noon, Friday. Don't forget. Yeah, boss, I got it. Right, Tuesday. Got it, boss. Don't worry. Yeah, I'll do it Wednesday, Thursday. Friday morning comes. He's not done the report. So he spends the next 4 hours drastically, frantically typing his report. He's sweating. He's drinking the coffees. And at 5 to 12, that's his sent. And he convinces himself he works well under pressure. Nobody works well under pressure. So if you're successful, what price have you paid for that? And then there's the pure, wellness side of it, where you can be twice as successful for half the worry and, half the stuff that you go through in life. But life is about a couple of things. First of all, it's about identity. Secondly, it's about finding peace. If you're getting anxious, if you're getting worried, if that's the life you live in, you are going to die 10 years before your time. That is it. When you're worried about yesterday's depression, worried about tomorrow's anxiety, what are you doing today? Today is all we have. God gives us today. We get up in the morning. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to waste it? You see, alcoholics and addicts are such special people because we get 2 lives in one lifetime. The first one we messed up. If we're lucky and blessed enough to survive that, we get this new life where we've been reborn. What are you going to do with it? You need to stick away from the unhealthy people, unhealthy food, unhealthy environment, unhealthy thought patterns, You can do that and just get into the conscious brain. Once you get into the conscious brain, everything you do will like touching roll. Everything you do will be a success. Best father, the best ever. I'm a multi-millionaire by far. My companies are probably worth 100 million. I don't know, probably something like that. My biggest ever achievement and accomplishment, and what makes me smile and get up every day, was my daughter contacting me and messing with me for 30 years. 30 years of crying over Christmas and birthdays and stuff like that, Easters. I couldn't see my children, wife, not let me see. And then what I did is at Christmas and birthdays, I'd send presents and cards that they never got. I knew not. I sent it to my mum, who never got it. But my daughter texts me and says, "Hey Dad," she called me Dad. And I always knew God would do this for me. She says, "Hey Dad, I've just seen you on TV in England. I don't really know what people will see. It's great to see you. Will you come over? I've got something to show you." So you can imagine we have people around us, So within 4 hours, we're on a plane back to England. We stayed in a hotel overnight. Me and my wife held hands and walked to the door. Every negative thought about me disowning them about God answered. We stood at the door, I was crying. And before we could knock on the door, she opened the door unexpectedly. We hugged, cried, and loved. Remember what I said before, that this is how God treats us, and we can never do the right thing. She grabbed my hand and she led me into a living room. And she handed me the 3-month granddaughter. And he's not God. Tell me it's not God. But categorically frightened, face to face with me. My youngest daughter contacted me 3 months. He's come on to say his next one. These are the blessings you get once you find out her identity, once you stand in the sun by the spirit, and you know what God has for you. This is the life you get. Don't worry about never being God. Be that person that saves a life every day. You could save a life. You can change the world to save a life every day, guys. If you don't think you do, want to do this next time you're out and about and build up area of people. Look for somebody coming towards you and sneaking. Nice sneakers, As he passes, you want to say 2 words. Nice sneakers. He's going to go, "Oh, thank you, man." And turn around and watch him. He's going to look down at his sneakers at least 2 or 3 times. You've changed his world. But he goes home to his wife or girlfriend because he's in a great mood. Now she's in a great mood. Then the mother-in-law caught. It just changed at least 20 people's lives and you didn't even know it. So if we could, people go, Corgi Search is the best of the best. We turn down thousands of podcasts a month. We're not interested. We don't want to be on that. You've got to find somebody who's changing the world. And Courtney is my media director. She's the best in the world now. I think she's got me on Rogan in a hell of a time. That's the level that I'm at. She goes out and she finds people that she thinks between both of us in 1 hour's time, we could say.
And I'm so grateful for her because when she reached out to me and I started looking at, your medias and stuff like that, and I'm going to be honest with you, I went, this guy is way out of my league when I saw it. But she was like, "I think you'll be a perfect fit," and things like that. And it was such a blessing that she saw that in me because I literally just started this channel 2 months ago. I have 5 subscribers, but she saw something, was like, "This will be a good fit." So
you'll never see me on this program or any other program selling my services.
Mm-hmm.
I have a book out there. If anybody wants it, don't buy it. Call me up for it. Send one free. No, it's about changing lives, and I've got to tell you. I know you probably got some other great questions, but you're in my top 3 right now podcasts that I've ever met.
Oh, well, thank you.
Questions as well. Secondly, you present yourself really well. You speak well, and you don't talk over the guest. You're amazing.
I appreciate that. And I do have some questions, but the last ones are fun questions.
Good.
I always like to end on an upbeat because we've been real heavy, real sober. Okay, I'll use that word again. But I always like to end just for people to find out a little bit about you. And I always like to do this. Okay. So there's five. I call it the final five. All right. And what is one place you've always wanted to visit but never had a chance to go, and why do you want to go there?
Italy. I'd like to go to Italy. We've never been, me and my wife, but always want to go there. She loves all the historic things behind it. But yeah, I think Italy would be the place.
It's funny. My niece actually lives in Italy right now. Yeah, her husband is in the military. I think Army. I can't remember which branch he's in, but he's in the military, and they're stationed in Italy for I think another year right now. So yeah, what's one album everyone should own?
Morning Glory by Oasis. Back in the UK, so they're friends of mine. I'll tell you that story real quick. I had a drummer. We used to have a little Irish band. We're playing the Irish circuit because paid more money than the English. One day, my drummer started breaking down before we finished, and I'm like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Scotland. We're gonna, have this audition. People to Scotland, and you'll never play in this town again." Off he goes. Just before he walked out the door and said, "What's the band?" They called me, said, "Oasis." They played in our town. Oh yeah, I think they are musical geniuses, despite all the stuff I don't like about them. But yeah, definitely. At one point, one in every three houses in England had a copy of On.
Well, in Morning Glory has my all-time favorite song on it, although the Beatles' Hey Jude is like a solid number two for me. Don't Look Back in Anger is just a masterpiece, flat out just a masterpiece. So, and I actually got to see them live when they were in the States. It wasn't the last tour where they broke up in Italy, but it was when they were touring with the Black Crowes, and it was called the Tour of Brotherly Love, and I just couldn't stop laughing at the name of the tour because it was so appropriately named. What's the best movie or TV show you've watched in the last year?
It's been out loads, but I have to watch. I had to watch it. It was oh my God, I can't think about it. I can't think of it. Really well known. Damn, asking some more come to me.
Okay. This one always gets people, and they always say, I can't answer this right now because it's kind of overwhelms them, but I don't think you're going to have that problem. You can ask one person, one from history, one question. Who's the person and what's the question?
By the way, that thing's called Blacklist.
Oh, James Spader. Yes. Oh, so good. Yeah.
Bear with me.
Okay.
Hitler.
Okay.
The guy said to me, and only for this question: how did you get millions of people to follow you? That was the question.
I think that's a great question because when you can get into the psyche of someone like that who basically essentially creates a cult, that's what it was. It was a large scale cult, but it was a cult. You can then start to see how the cults are formed in other places too. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, we know what it's like. My podcast had like 10 views. Nobody subscribes to me. It's hard to get a following, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last one. It falls in line with everything, the movie and the TV one. What's one book everyone should read at least once in their life?
I'm going to say mine, but I'm going to say The Four Agreements.
What was it again?
The Four Agreements.
Okay.
Not read The Four Agreements, guy. You want 40% gone out of your life stress right now? Order The Four Agreements on Amazon, and I don't know who wrote it. Can't remember right now, but you've got to buy it and read it. It's very, very good for life in general. Peaceful life.
Awesome. Okay.
It's not really fit, but yeah, it's like stuff like don't take things too personal, and then it explains, why you shouldn't do that. And I have two things in life that I tell people and say, what brings you peace? Number one, I have enough. I have enough. I have enough of everything. I have enough money. I have enough peace. I have enough cars. I have enough houses. We're very charitable with our money. $100,000 give back to the community. And second, at the age of 63, after only 2 or 3 years of repacking, I can honestly say, I don't care what you think about the guys. I don't care. I really don't care. I have everything. I help people, Robb Kelly Foundation. We help loads of people. We say we help people, we don't tell people how, but we're in there, man. My feet are always in them trenches, man. I don't care whether you want to look at. If you're a father that's trying to fight for your kid back once a week and you're in probably long-term recovery, we'll pay 12 months on your new lease part for you, pay all legal fees, buy your suit to look good in front of the judge, man, as long as you get your kid back.
And that's kind of what we preach here, right? Move one day at a time. Well, we tell all of our clients that we work with here that what's the one thing you can do today to move forward for tomorrow? One thing. Is it a phone call? Is there an email you can send? Is it one thing? And those one things suddenly, instead of being this far away from your goal, you're now this far away by that one thing each time. Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, Robb, it has been great talking to you. I'm so thankful that we're able to connect. Do you have anything you want to go out with before we close today?
Guys, you never know what people are going through, so just smile at somebody, say, do something that makes you smile or laugh or something. There's a great story I tell at my conference. The guy walks to the Golden Gate Bridge and he throws himself up and commits suicide. When the police pull him out of the water, they find ID to go back to the apartment. But he found a note on the table and he read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge, which is an hour's walk. I'm going to throw myself up and commit suicide unless on the way there, somebody smiles at me, waves at me, nods at me, in that or anything like I'll stop there, right there, and I'll turn around, I'll come back to the apartment, I'll try again tomorrow. Question. How many people have you walked past today that's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah.
Again, change your life a day. And you will be rewarded, and stop caring what people think, chase your dream, never give up. If you failed several times and pigs it's you, it's not. Look at the Beatles. How many times? Look at J.K. Rowling. They laughed at her. They laughed, sent her home crying, and said she was never, ever going to be an author, and yet she did the first billionaire author. Go for your dream, don't stop.
Yep. And now we can't get Harry Potter out of our minds at all. They're rebooting it again. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Kelly. It has been fascinating talking with you. And if you're interested in being on Conversations with Patrick, you can visit the website, patrickryanlewis.com, and click on the Conversations with Patrick link. The email's right there. And go ahead and send me an email. I'd love to chat with you. Until next time, everybody, have a great day.